What is going on, everybody? And thank you for tuning in to another edition of the ManUP Real Talk podcast. I am your host with the most, Mr. Michael Wiley, saying greetings and salutations to all of you, our faithful followers and listeners. Look, y'all already know I appreciate all the likes, the shares, the clicks, the downloads, and tags, and whatever it is that you do to support this podcast, because we know that had it not been for you, there would be no us. So we greatly appreciate each and every last one of you on today. Look, if you're joining us for the first time, I want to say welcome and thanks for coming on and tuning in. Or if you're back for a second helping, I say you greedy individual. But your boys are back on the air with another ManUP Real Talk podcast, the podcast for the people. And joining me, as always, is my brother from another mother, Mr. Philip Hines, a.k.a. Mr. Classic, a.k.a. triple OG. How many? That's too many triples. Ain't
Relax, Mike. Relax.
It's kind of there's a lot of triples. But yeah. Mr. Philip Hines is in the building. What's going on, sir?
What's going on, brother? How you doing? What's going on?
I am doing great. I'm doing fantastic. I don't know, whatever other positive words you can attach to it, man. I'm feeling good. It's a good day. It's Tuesday. It's 6:00 and ManUP is on the air. So, I'm feeling good.
Yeah.
I'm feeling good, man. Look, we got a good show for you guys on today. We got some special guests in the building. Mr. John Bennett, who is a principal of the Chicago Public School System. We also have a special guest educator, Mr. Damon Ingram of the Florida Department of Education. And we also have a special guest parent on the show with us on today, Miss Larita Razor. They're going to be joining us in just a minute. We're going to be talking about the good, the bad, and the ugly of e-learning. Listen, I need y'all to do me a favor. I need you to like, love, and tag, share this video. Like, love, and tag, and share this video. Get some folks involved. Everybody been complaining about e-learning, and y'all been talking about, oh my God, e-learning is so horrible, blah, blah, blah. Now here's a chance to voice some of your grievances. Let's talk about this thing. See if we can get some issues resolved. Folks love talking about stuff, but they never got no solutions. I don't understand. Here's your chance. Join the conversation. Be a part of it. Listen, next week, we got a good show lined up. We got a young couple, Mr. Brandon and Elizabeth Baldwin of the podcast 23 and Married, to be joining us on next week. And then that following week, Miss Cynthia Munden, she's going to be joining us. She is our featured Black entrepreneur of the month, and she will be joining us on this on the fourth Tuesday. Make sure you go over to YouTube and look us up and join our YouTube channel. Subscribe. We need some subscribers.
Please.
We need y'all to subscribe to YouTube.
Please.
So we can get this thing going, because we're going to be eventually doing some stuff that's going to be exclusive to YouTube. Yeah. So you guys don't want to miss that. So make sure, if you haven't already done so, please go over and like and share our YouTube
channel. You're going to get a different feel on YouTube. Tell you that right now. So
I don't know how different it is. I mean, because we pretty ghetto on this one. I don't know if we can get any more words.
No, we're not ghetto on this one. We're gonna be kind of ghetto on the YouTube page.
I mean, we keep it kind of casual, and we're not too. I don't think we're too stoic. We're not too, too staunch or anything like that. It's pretty easy going. I don't think YouTube is gonna be. It ain't like we're gonna be like smoking and just balling out of control on YouTube. But we're gonna try to do some stuff. They got a little different vibe to it. Trying to get some young people stuff going, and just a variety of things. So just go over there and just like and subscribe. That's all I'm saying. Just stop begging. Don't beg the people. Encourage.
Please,
encourage. Subscribe. There's a difference. You don't want to beg them. You want to encourage them.
Yes, I want to like, subscribe. Please,
you want to like and subscribe. Listen, if you're in the chat, and if you're in the chat, why don't you go ahead and put a finger up so we can acknowledge you and say thank you for tuning in and joining. I want to acknowledge those that I see. I see Jackie, as always. I appreciate you. Mitzi, as always, I appreciate you.
What's going on, Mitzi?
Brother Leonard, I appreciate you. Listen, if y'all missed it, man, y'all need to go to Voices Rising Up and check out the GOAT. Check out the GOAT crew. They had a good conversation about just talking about all things sports. So if you're a sports fan, you definitely want to go and check out Voices Rising Up. Check out the GOAT crew. They got some good stuff. Sister Denise is in the building. I appreciate you. Thanks for joining. And whoever else, if I don't see you, if I have acknowledged you, please know that I love you and I appreciate you dearly. Yes, I do. So listen, I want to get right into it, y'all. We got some wonderful guests joining us on today, and we're going to be talking about e-learning. Joining us is Mr. John Bennett, who is a principal of the Chicago Public School System. Mr. Bennett, I appreciate you. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great, and homage to Coming to America. I am very happy to be here.
I am very happy to be here. Absolutely.
How you doing, sir?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate you guys.
Also joining us is Mr. Damon Ingram of the Florida Department of Education. Damon, what's going on, man? Man, doing just fine, sir. Appreciate you hanging out with us on today.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Yes, sir. And all the way from Evergreen Park, we got our guest parent for today, Miss Larita Razor. That's my little sister, y'all. I love her so much. God bless your ministry, darling. How you feeling on tonight? I appreciate you joining.
I'm doing well. How's everyone?
We're great.
Thank you for having me on.
Oh, no problem. No problem. So listen, I wanted to have this discussion because I think we can honestly say that 2020, when the pandemic hit, it turned everything and everybody on its tail. One of the things for sure was how it hit the schools and how it affected a lot of our students. Some of our students didn't even finish out their senior year in school. And I mean, it affected everything from prom to graduation and all those things. And even how the kids learn and just go to class was all different. I mean, it really hit us and it forced us to approach school in a different way. And along came e-learning. Now, e-learning isn't like no big different thing. I mean, because you've had online classes for a while. You got college that have online classes and all these things. But I think for some of our younger students, it's a little bit different. And I think it hit them a little differently. But my main concern is how I hear people talk about e-learning. And it's not all good. It's a lot of bad things about it. Mm-hmm. And me personally, I think e-learning, I think there are some benefits to e-learning, but I can't also ignore the flaws that e-learning has. One of my things that I was hopeful for was for this year going into it, because as the pandemic continued, those conditions continued. But in some cases, it seemed like that we still were not prepared when it came to our students and making sure that they were prepared in order to have their classes online, and just to make sure that the virtual environment they were going to be in was conducive to what they needed in order to succeed. And there is a fear that the way e-learning is set up, especially in the Black communities, that it has put a further gap when it comes to education between our kids and their white counterparts. But what I wanted to do was to try to get everybody's perspective. That's why I have a principal and I have an educator and I have a parent on, because I wanted you guys to talk from your own perspectives and pick your brains and just to kind of see how you see it. What are some of the negatives? What are some of the positives? And what you see and what you see could possibly come out of e-learning in the future. So, Larita, I wanted to start with you as a parent. I wanted you to just kind of expound on the experiences that you have, because you are a mom of four, and what are the age ranges of your kids?
Well, my oldest is 11. Then you have my 9-year-old, and I have a set of twins that's 7.
So you have 2, 7, a 9, and an 11-year-old. So tell us, or tell our viewers, what is your experience like when it comes to the e-learning environment?
Okay, so let's just say my life was here, and then e-learning just like
oh wow.
I'm saying that because it was like that for everyone. I don't care who you were, parent, teacher, principal. It's like a lifestyle change. You had to change everything. I had to change the look of my house. Like right now, I'm actually in my kids' classroom, which I had to create in my basement. I had to become a full-time teacher, I'm already a full-time mom, but I had to become a full-time teacher, meaning that I'm not the parent. I'm very involved in my kids' education. So I did not, tell them to log in and then go up and do what I have to do throughout the house. I stay in with my kids, and I have to be on it with my kids. If the teacher's saying, LJ, I don't see you, I don't see your face, then I have to go over there. So it's been a lot. Starting off in March of last year, I would say that I've become more acclimated with the system and how everything's going, but I won't say that it's become easier to the system, because my teachers actually in my kids' class, they teach also the in students as well as the online students. So the teacher has to be able to be attentive to both the in-school students as well as the online students. And so when she's being attentive to the in-school students, then my kids are like all over the place because they know that the teacher is not watching them. So I mean, it's so much more gathered into that, but that's just the beginning of my online e-learning experience with the kids.
So what were, and you don't have to go into like detail, but what were some of the challenges that you may have faced in the beginning, and what are some of the challenges that you may still have, if you have any, when it comes to the e-learning environment?
I feel like in some ways, I feel like that my kids are not getting all that they need as far as what the school has to offer if they were versus them being in school. I say that because all of our kids, at least all of my kids, are very, let's just say they are techie. They can navigate through the system. They know how to work the laptops. They know how to work any kind of device that they have. So if the teacher is doing assessments or anything like that, they can navigate through their system and they can cheat. They can ask Google, "Hey Google, what's 5 + 3?" And Google will be like, "Hey, 5 + 3." So they're able to cheat the system. And I feel like, and so as a parent, of course I'm here, so I'm on it. I'm like, no, you can't do that. But then they have done assessments with my kids, knowing that my kids were not totally focused, and then they grade them based upon that assessment, which I feel like is not right. I feel like they're losing classroom etiquette. I feel like that they will actually benefit more from being in school opposed to being out. And I'm gonna really be transparent right now. When my kids were in school and they actually come home from school, I'm on it. I'm like, let's go over your spelling words. Let's make sure that we do these additions and subtractions. Let's make sure we read at least 15 to 20 minutes based upon their age. I'm on it. But now that e-learning is like, I'm a teacher from 8:30 a.m. to 3:00 p.m. So now it's time for, they actually have homework online. And then so I'm not really more pushing them as much as I would because I'm like fried. At 3:00, I'm fried. I have none left.
Wow. Damon, let me
about the age gap. So
yeah, absolutely.
Friends are, and their lunch and their break times is different. So I'm constantly up cooking lunch for this kid, and then this kid's going on lunch at 30 minutes, an hour later, and then this kid is going, it's constantly, and so I'm in school as well. So I'm thinking like, oh, I can get my schoolwork done. It's impossible. It's impossible.
So Damon, let me shoot it over to you. You being an educator and a teacher in the Florida Department of Education, what are some of the challenges that you face as a teacher when it comes to trying to administer the lesson to your students? And first of all, let me ask, what grade do you teach?
I teach high school. I teach.
Oh wow, that's a whole different monster.
Yes, that's a whole different monster there. I teach high school anywhere between sophomore to senior, basically.
Okay.
I teach algebra 2, and I teach math for college readiness, which is like a senior class. So a lot of times I guess like my positives is just that I'm still teaching in real time. Students can ask me questions in real time. It's as though even though I'm online and they can see me actually teach the lesson, go through all the procedures of solving the problem and all of that. They see all that in real time as though they're sitting in the classroom, but they're not. But then I have my face-to-face, as we call them, my face-to-face kids. They're right there. They get the direct one, the direct instruction from me. But they're right there face-to-face. Some of the disadvantages with online learning, what we call launch ed in Florida, is that and again, I had students who were at home but decided to come to school. They were like, I would cut your class on, but then I would walk away, or I would be doing other things instead of paying attention. So even in high school, the mindset of remote learning is pretty much not there. I would say with 80% of the students, the online learning, the mentality to do this is not there. Even though some kids, they claim that they can, I can do stuff by myself. I can do it on my own. I just need, the instructions on how to do it and all of this. They have their online assignments from me. I do give them assessments online, and which are basically open book, open note. So again, they can go to Google and they can, figure out what the answer is. I also have a YouTube channel that's dedicated to doing math problems. I call it Damon's Math Shop. So again, you can go to my YouTube page and click like and subscribe, and you would get videos from lessons that I've done in the classroom as well. So I think the mentality, even at the high school level, going into the college level, that mentality for most of the students is not there. When we did e-learning, it was just something we just threw together. We just it's kind of like we throwing spaghetti on the wall and hoping something would stick. And some things did stick, some things did not. We're learning as the pandemic rolls around. Yeah, we can do some things differently. Me personally, I don't think that remote learning works for elementary or middle school, because they're used to that socialization. They need that, that interaction with each other. And when you have parent being the teacher and parent, those roles get kind of confused, because it's like, who am I talking to? Am I talking to mommy or Miss Razor? Who am I talking to? Who am I addressing? So I think those distinctions need to be like clear or more distinct, because my mom was working in the system. Actually, I was going to the same school my mom was working at. So I couldn't call her mommy. I had to call her Mrs. Ingram. So I had to, do that. Wait a minute. Who? That sort of thing. Until like the 4th grade. And then I went to my own school. I didn't go to the school that she worked at. So I didn't have that dichotomy there. So like I said, some of the disadvantages are the mentality of the student is just not there, or we didn't have time to prepare them to do this. It was like something that happened. We try to protect our kids, keep them safe from the virus. And also, again, for those working parents that, those working parents, they took a hit too. They took a hit as far as being teacher and parent, but also they got to provide for the household as well. So they made the hit. So they're trying to replace income as well as, be an active participant. So it's a lot of other areas too that we've been hit hard, especially like in communities of color, because we trying to hold it down in the house as well as hold down with the kid. And when my kids are failing, I call home and I say, hey, your kid hasn't logged online. They said, well, then the parent would say, well, I asked the kid, did he log on? And he said he did. I said, ma'am,
wow,
not true. Because again, I take attendance. I do like a written attendance, and I do an online attendance. So I write their names down on a sheet of paper, and then I just transfer it to the computer. And I say, wait a minute, I know the kid ain't here, because again, I took the attendance twice. So just as documentation for me that the kid has not been online.
Wow.
He may have been online looking at Netflix, looking at Hulu, whatever the case may be.
Playing a little Roblox.
These are older students. Okay, these are older students,
right?
And the school I worked at told me we had to make them cut their cameras on. I didn't necessarily want to do that at first. I mean, I did it like for the first 10 days. I did that, but then I said, wait a minute. I might be looking at somebody's household that I don't need to be looking at, or the case may be, because a lot of people, again, another issue is a lot of people don't even dress for the camera. I'm like, dude, you got a camera on, please dress appropriately. We have this struggle with students being out of dress code. But then when you got a parent that's kind of like walking back and forth in the background out of dress code, it gets to be really, really sticky, because you're like, wait a minute, who is this? And all of that happening, all like that whole dynamic happening. So it's a lot. It's a lot that we have to focus on, but yet there is some positives there, in which like it's still direct instructing. It's still the in your face teaching, and you can answer questions and ask questions in real time.
All right. So, now let me hop over to John real quick. Now, John, by you being a principal and you hearing, the things that the parents are going through, and I'm sure you probably hear from both sides, because you probably receive complaints from parents, and you receive complaints or critiquing from teachers. When you hear those things, what's going through your mind, or what are the things that you see? What are the things that you see that are some of the larger issues that we're dealing with when it comes to e-learning?
Yeah, no problem. I feel like, well, first off, I'm a parent myself, right?
Okay.
2 young boys. I got a 7-year-old and a 9-year-old.
Oh wow, I'm sorry.
That are going through this as well, right? So you're right. I absolutely catch it from all sides. From parents, who are frustrated, right? Understandably so. From teachers who are frustrated, right? From the district that's also, somewhat frustrated with what it is charged with. But ultimately, I think that first of all, I think there's a myth that the schools and school leadership are like in favor of e-learning. Like, yes, e-learning is amazing. It's like, no, that's not the case. If anything that we sort of lift up is like, yes, I know it's hard. Yes, we know it's inconvenient and we've had to do a lot, but did you die though? That's what we come back to, right? Because that is it. I know that sounds coarse, but at the end of the day, that's what it's all for, right? And none of us are fans of it. None of us are eager or were eager to dive in. But we talk about even a year ago, where it was really like Brother Ingram said, we throwing spaghetti at the wall. That was one situation where so all of a sudden, hey, adjust. But then we had the summer to sort of plan and roll this out. And I think if nothing else, aside from what you hear typically, something that we learn from all this is that we can actually do it. Nobody would have thought in all the years of traditional schooling that a teacher could teach from home. Like that was never even thought about. Right. So that has changed everything. Like, say goodbye to snow days, right? Say goodbye to like some other situations where, parents are in need of support. Like every year, especially every year that I've been a school leader, there are more and more parents who are asking for like options at home. And for them, this is actually a good thing, right? There are also certain kids who have done better in this environment. These may be kids who have social anxiety, may have disability, or just, are good at learning on their own, right? Yeah. This is like another avenue, right? Another way where they can still get their schooling that is now present for us. But I mean, the challenges have been said a million times over. It's not the same. We've also learned how much schools actually do, right? We've learned how much actually happens within the schoolhouse that is not just tied to academics, right? I mean, even the other day I was on Instagram, and it was a Chicago account that was talking about the carjackings. And they said, you know what, if these kids were in school, we wouldn't be having these carjackings. And it's like, you know what? That's an interesting point, you know, because we expect for schools, in a sense, to sort of manage that mentality. You know, a kid with the mentality that, you know, will rob somebody at gunpoint, yeah, they're going to school. And that's something that teachers and educators have to manage. That kind of goes unsaid, right? Some of the other social implications, et cetera. But yeah, it's rough all over. It's hard for everybody. People also forget sometimes that the teachers, administrators are also parents, and have our kids off to the side, you know, in the corner, doing the same thing that the parents are doing. So we really can't relate. But ultimately, like, the hardest thing for us, I think, is all the other. We provide a lot of food for families, right? People come by the school building to pick up food. There have been families that have fallen off the map. Like, you know, where is this kid? Where is this family? We haven't been able to get. Are they all right? You know, is I think a bigger concern for us than necessarily the hardcore academics. You know, I think all we hope to do is provide parents with something to do with their kids during this time, to take them off your hands to some degree, provide some sort of service. But I think we all know that it's not perfect.
So I just very interesting question that was posed by one of our viewers, and this is something that me and Phil have talked about, and I want to add on to this question as well. The question was, it said we're already dealing with fourth grade failure syndrome for Black males, and the question is, has e-learning made bring it up here? Let's see if I can. Come on, comment. All right, comment don't want to show. All right. Oh, there we go. So the question is, we're already dealing with fourth grade failure syndrome for Black males, and has e-learning made that worse or exposed how deep the issue is for our culture? Now, I want to also add on to that in regards to e-learning, right? Because I hear so many people say the e-learning system is failing. E-learning system is failing. But my question is, and this is for everybody, how much of that is the fault of the school system, and how much of that is the fault of the parent? Because the one thing that I believe that that e-learning has done is that it's just exposed some lifelong problems that our educational system has had, and that's with either parents not participating enough or being more involved with their kids' education, or the schools not being able to provide exactly what it is those students need in order to excel. So my question, so I want to pose that question to you guys: whose fault is it? Is it anybody's fault, or do we all take blame in it, or you know, who should be where should the focus be? Should the focus be more on parents' participation, especially with this e-learning, or should it be more on the school system, whereas they have to be more innovative and find better ways to educate?
Real quick, man, if I could jump in.
Absolutely.
I think somebody also need to add in terms of, as a caveat to that question, because that is, I think, the question for many people, or the main thing people lean on when they talk about how it's not working, how we're falling behind. You know, I got colleagues in all types of different schools. You know, private. You know, people I know out in, you know, the affluent districts up north. You name it. I know people that are in person, people that are remote. Nobody's doing great, right? And I think that needs to be said. Full stop.
Wow.
Nobody's doing great. There's nobody excelling. You know, there are some that are able to do better than others, but it's not a situation where, like, this group is completely stagnant. And you know, they are suffering. Don't get me wrong. Like, the poorest communities are impacted the most. That is not debatable. But the wealthy folk are not excelling any more than they would have been excelling anyway, because it's all about the exposure and things that they're providing for their kids outside of school, right?
Gotcha.
Well, you know what, Mike?
Go ahead, Phil.
Because I want our guests to talk. So let me just get my 2 or 3 words out real.
Go ahead and get your 2 cents in, son.
Please take this camera off of me, please.
Nope. Not gonna do it.
I really can't speak from the teacher's point of view, but I can speak from parents, because I have a child who's in 8th grade right now, and I think that me and my wife has been blessed that her getting good grades and stuff, it didn't fall off with the e-learning thing.
Mhm.
But we know when kids get a certain age, their attention span is kind of short.
Yeah.
So we have to really, as parents, and I understand we all have to work. Like me and my wife had to go. We had to take our daughter with us to work with us. She had to go to do her work do her schooling at work with us. But it still falls on the responsibility still falls on the parent to make sure you know how your child is. You know how your child attention span is. So we have to really make sure that we stay on them when they're doing that schoolwork. Like I said, I can't speak for the teachers, but I can speak as a parent. And that's all I got to say. So let's get back to our guests.
Well, real quick. So
Go ahead.
Want to respond to the question. One thing that I can say that I'm happy that the kids are at home is that I do have a Black son. And so my kids are they are attending a diverse school, but the teachers are predominantly white. And so I've had a lot of run-ins with the teachers in regards to my Black son. And like I said, I'm very into my kids' school, and I participate, I volunteer, I'm at that school. I'll be looking through the window sometime. Maybe I'm a little too much, but I need to make sure that my kids are getting the same education as everyone else.
That's right.
And so I've had issues and run-ins in regards to my Black son. And so now that my kids are actually home, I'm really into, and I'm seeing a lot of times that how the teachers respond to him opposed to responding to others. And so I'm constantly like saying, good job, pushing him. But what is happening when they're not homeschooling? What is happening when e-learning is not in effect and my Black son is actually in this school and teachers are teaching him? And so now I'm in a sense, I am happy that he's home, but I feel like I want him to be amongst everybody else, get the same education, but I'm not 100% sure that that's what's actually going on in the schoolhouse beyond, with the walls and the doors that I can't see. So in saying that, I am happy that he's home and I can push him and congratulate him, because I've heard it so many times now. A lot of teachers just assume that the parents are away from their kids. But like I said, I have created a classroom in my basement. And I have a teacher's desk, I call it. And so I'm listening, I'm watching. None of my kids have earbuds. I need to hear everything. I need to hear what the teacher's saying. I need to hear the relationship between the two of them. So I'm hearing everything, and I'm hearing LJ, my son is LJ. So I'm hearing he do something, and then the teacher is like, okay, great. And then another student would say something, and she'll be like, oh, good job. That's wonderful. So the feedback is different. And so on my end, I'm like, good job, LJ. I'm pushing him. But it makes me think, like, out of all this time, that's why he was so kind of scared to say something, because he's like, what if I get it wrong? What if it's not right? And so I'm being able to see exactly what's going on, and I'm able to push him. So yeah, it has helped me.
You know what's funny? I remember when Michael and Gabriel was younger. And I don't know what grade that they might have been, like second, third grade or something like that. And and for those of y'all that know my wife, she used to buy them these books, like math books and reading books and stuff. And what we did is over the summer, she would make them do like a page a day. Like, nope, you're doing this page. So every day they were doing like little stuff. And I remember
the same thing.
Yeah, and I remember before they even start working on it, I started showing them how to multiply with multiple numbers, right? Showing them how to use zero as a placeholder and stuff like that. And I remember them going back to school, and I remember Gabriel was like, Dad, they're not even doing this yet. I'm like, really? Yeah. And he felt like he was really ahead. But the funny thing is that Gabriel was probably like about 2 or 3 grades ahead of the kids that was in his class. And as a result of that, he would fall asleep because he was bored. And the teachers they would be like, is everything okay at home with Gabriel? And I'm like, yeah, he eating, he's sleeping, he's fine.
But you know what, Mike? I really think that helps the kids because we did that with Kennedy. Like when she was like 3 years old, we started her doing schoolwork at an early age.
Yeah.
And it was like, so when she got in school, she was already acclimated to it. So I think that really works with the kids when you start them young and get them acclimated and stuff like that. So
yeah, but I believe it needs to be. I'm sorry, who's that? Go ahead, Damon. Go ahead, man.
I think, like, again, to answer the question, e-learning exposed a whole lot of okay, this part is working, this part is missing, and this part is not working. So it's kind of like, I think as far as the parent, like the acclimates, that part was missing. As far as that certain kids get the acclimates and certain like you're right, and let's move on. But for those students who need that intense one-on-one, that's the part that was missing. And then like you and like I said earlier, you have parents who may want to be more involved, but they're too engrossed in like trying to make a living as well as trying to be involved, and those things kind of like butt heads with each other.
Yeah.
So I mean, so you have that dynamic. Then the part where like if the kid was ESC or needed more intense educational services, then like I said, students who has the influence, they can go out and get the extra tutoring and the other services, whereas most parents of color can't necessarily do that. They have to make it work with what they have, if you will. So again, as we all say, you're just trying to make it work with what you got. And so I said, e-learning exposed what was missing, what was working, and what was broken. So it kind of exposed all three. And as far as who fault it is, that's necessarily not. It's not necessarily anyone's fault, but everyone has a part to play.
That's right.
John, what do you think, man? I'm sorry, Damon. Go ahead.
It takes a village to raise a child. It actually does, because the part that the parent may not have, I'll have that piece of the puzzle.
Yes, sir.
And the part that the parent would say, okay, I would call parents, say like, parent, I need your back. I need you to help me with this piece of the puzzle. And they say, okay, no problem, no problem. And then like on the administrative side, like, well, I need you to help me with this. I need for all three of us to be in conjunction, working together to help this particular child. And they were like, okay. And once you get all three pieces working, then the child can bloom and whatnot. I love the way that you all did with your children. You were so involved that when they got to school, they was already ready. It was like, whatever, we did this already. We did this.
Yeah.
So, and I think that with e-learning, it said, well, what do you do with the kid that's like 2 and 3 grades ahead of the other class? Do you just let them just sit there to their own devices? And the answer is no. But you have to find a way to say, okay, let me take this kid who apparently not only did what we're doing, but also surpassed that. You want to keep that child engaged, or he will fall off, or he will like, okay, whatever. I ain't gotta be involved, and they'll do other things. So I think at times it has to be like me personally. I'm a little bit more entertaining. I'm a more the animated teacher.
I get that vibe. I get that vibe.
My
kids tell me, "Oh, you too much. You way too much." I said, "I got to be. I'm that teacher. I got to be too much.
Right.
I got to be too much for you, because you ain't gonna overrun me. So I got to overrun you at some point. As far as like the education, if they're working." If I see that they're working ahead, I'll push them further. Like, okay, go ahead and do this, and this, and let's see what happens. Now I'm gonna leave you alone for like 5 minutes. I'm gonna come back. And I'm gonna check on you. If I ain't got what I want, I'm gonna put you back in the group with the slow class. That's
Let me jump in. Let me jump in for a minute. Look, John, I gotta put the. I want to put the same question to you.
Yeah.
Is it more? Is it more so that e-learning has just exposed an age-old problem, or is this something that's new? Is it teacher and school involvement? Is it parent involvement? What do you think it is?
I don't think it's anything new. I think that two things stand out. Our system is antiquated.
Absolutely.
The way that school
Absolutely.
is even like designed, with summer breaks and everything else is based on a
Absolutely.
lifestyle that just doesn't exist anymore, right?
Totally agree.
So those gaps are just now, exacerbated, right? But it also just, I think, for the world at large, for anybody who has been close to schools or had kids or been in neighborhoods or schools that are predominantly, Black and brown, the haves and the have-nots is also an age-old problem, right?
Yes, sir.
Right.
That you also just see exacerbated. So again, it's not anything new. It's just glaringly obvious. And if nothing else, what we saw was the reaction from people who were not used to being put in those type of positions, kind of scramble to figure out, okay, what do we do? How do we make good of it? And, you saw like the pandemic pods get created and you got nannies being hired and everything else. And that's great because you have, and you can do that. Right.
Right.
But what about those who don't? But
Right.
kind of like what Mr. Ingram said, it's a collective thing, though. It's an everybody thing for it to work. And make no mistake, we were not good at this.
Right. Exactly. This was put on us, right?
Exactly.
It wasn't anything that anybody, I think, was expecting or looking for. It was just kind of like pandemic, and it's like,
I didn't go to school to be a teacher,
right?
It's funny, right? Because the parents didn't decide to be teachers, right?
Right.
But I can't tell you a single teacher who has gone through any type of educational training program that got trained on how to be a best e-learning professional, right? We all have to learn that.
But this is a testimony for us as, like you said, as parent, teacher, and administrator. We can do this.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. In times of crisis, in times of adversity, we can do this. What we thought we couldn't do, we making it work.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's funny. I tell my kids tell me I could never be a parent. I mean, I can never be a teacher. I could never do what you do. I say, you know what? If you can't do what I do, then you can't be a parent either. Because a parent is a lifelong teacher. You see me like 108 days. You see me.
My son's still in class as we speak.
Out of the kid's life, they may see me at max 180 days, 9 months. After that, you won't see me again. But you'll see your parent every single day of your life. So therefore, if you can't do what I do, then, and I have to break it down real like in high school, then don't engage in activities that produces. Therefore, you are the lifelong parent. You are the lifelong teacher. Don't be you, boo. Don't do that.
Right. All right, John. Now, because you're the principal, I got to put these hard questions to you, because that's why I brought you on. So now, look, when we look at as I was looking up some of the issues, that e-learning kind of brings along. There were five that really stood out that seemed to be common among a lot of the articles that I was looking up. One of them that stood out to me was computer literacy. There are a lot of kids I noticed that although they're tech savvy in terms of they know how to navigate YouTube and Roblox and all that stuff, they are still computer illiterate, whereas they don't know what the computer is and how to properly use it. They just know how to click onto a link.
They can't type, Mike.
Exactly. So is there anything that maybe you may be privy to in regards to Chicago public schools? Are there computer literacy classes that's available for the younger kids to make it easier, to make it simple? Like a Windows for Dummies type of thing for the younger kids that they can use so that they can get assimilated to using a computer. Because I believe that's one of the biggest problems, is that most of them, although we think they're tech savvy, they're really not. They're just used to tapping on the phone,
Yeah.
but they don't really know how to properly use a computer. So I want to ask that question. Is there anything that the CPS and Damon, if you know of anything that Florida's doing to kind of counteract that? And then, because we've been talking about all the woes and all the the low downs of e-learning, I also want you to tell me what good things you see that's happening, and do you see any good things coming out of the future? So I'm gonna give that to you first,
Yeah.
John, and then I want my parent and my educator to answer. So really get your answer ready, because I see you down there sweating. Just go ahead and get it ready.
So I think that we began to tiptoe into these waters. So let me backtrack. Something that parents have complained about, or actually complained about, I shouldn't say complained about, talked about when I first got into education. This is what year 18 for me. Was what happened to cursive, right? How come kids don't learn cursive anymore?
Right.
And
Yeah,
cursive,
what happened to it?
cursive got replaced.
Computers.
Cursive got replaced with keyboards, right?
Yep.
But it wasn't, and it wasn't done intentional. So I mean, you see tech classes pop up in classes in schools across the country. Kids are doing things, they're experimenting with coding and things along those lines. But again, these are like one-offs, right?
Okay.
What this pandemic has done is thrown us into that full throttle, right?
Mm.
So best believe moving forward, you also read about how now, as a result of having to use these online platforms,
Mhm.
they're not going to go anywhere. Everybody's on Google Classroom for the most part now, and using Flipgrid or Nearpod or whatever else. Those tools are great tools that are going to still be used when we return back into the building, right? So we've been sort of put into light speed and fast forwarded into this realm now where, yeah, you're going to see a lot more computer literacy. We spent, I talked about how we had to recalibrate to start the school year. We spent the first 4 weeks just doing orientations, right? This is how you find the stuff. Here's how you navigate. For the parents,
Wow.
same thing. Here is Google Classroom 101, right? Here's how you find the link to the classroom. Here's how you find the assignments. Here's how you check to see what the grades are, right?
Mm.
That's not going to go anywhere because they work, right? It's just a
Gotcha.
question of getting people acclimated to it. It's accessible on your phone, if you have one. But those things are not going to go anywhere. So I mean, that's one positive that you will see that technology infusion as a part of all K-12 education moving forward. And if there is a silver lining on all of this, it's essentially tied to that. That schooling has been sort of changed forever. When we think about things like summer enrichment activities and opportunities, those things can happen virtually now, right?
Right.
So that when we talk summer slide and the opportunity gap that everybody's addressing in terms of opportunities of the affluent versus opportunities of those who are impoverished, that those bridges are starting to be built now where, like, yeah, you may not be able to get up to the field museum, but now I can bring the field museum to you, right? That's a positive, right? I can bring this speaker to you. Zoom, oh my goodness, man, it's just changed the game to where now you can bring people into a space without having to physically bring them into a space, and everybody's accustomed to it now. Right?
Yeah, got you. Parent, my Donald Larita, what do you what do you think? Do you see some positives? Do you see some good things, or what good things would you like to see come out of all of this?
Absolutely. There are positives in the midst of our storm, I would call it, because we all were pushed kind of into this. No one asked for it, And so I would say it's teaching my daughter, my oldest daughter, responsibility. She's very good. She's killing the game, when it comes down to e-learning.
That's
You
what's
know,
up.
of course, when you go lower in the grade, you have to be more attentive to these kids. You have to be more on them because they're younger. So of course you have to. But my oldest kid, yeah, she's killing the game. Her grades, and I can say none of my kids' grades have dropped. And I know that John said that cursive is leaving. Thank God. In my kids' school, they're definitely they have a they have a book that they're actually doing cursive. You know, they
Right.
going through it and they're teaching them cursive writing. And what else? As far as the physical, we haven't even talked about the physical.
True.
Um, the physical with the kids, they're not even in gym. They're running in place. They're doing it online. Yeah, that's good, but it's not the same as being there. So I try to
Exactly.
push my kids and be like, run down the block, you
Right.
know,
Go in the
and
refrigerator. You
run
know.
up and down the driveway, because us as adults is talking about this coronavirus COVID-19 wait. We're not talking about the kids. The kids are suffering as well too.
It's true.
So it's on the parents too when it comes down to gym. Yeah, the gym teacher give them assignments, but you know, I try to push them to do it outside and kind of get some fresh air. I am blessed that I do have 4 kids. So their social skills are still on the rise because it's the 4 of them. But you know, my heart goes out to the kids that's only 1 kid in the household where they don't have those social skills. Um, what else is a plus for me with the kids? They all tech savvy. I don't know what you're talking about, Mike. My kids can navigate through. If anything, they need a senior tech savvy class. You know, when I want my mom to watch the kids during the day, that's a no-go, you know, or my mother-in-law, because they understand, but my kids know how to tell them, like, yeah, I'm in school, but they're on Roblox. Like, come on,
Right. They don't, you know, the old your grandma don't understand that there's multiple tabs up there.
right. Listen, let me tell you something. I promise, I think I'm tech savvy, but my kids taught me through e-learning that there are different screens. They press one
Yeah.
button and there's
Yeah.
3 screens. Who
Yeah.
would have known that? I didn't know. Okay. I know now. Okay, so I'm learning while they're learning. This is a learning process. And one more thing that I want to say before I shut up. There needs to be a relationship between the teacher, between the parent, between the principal. I make sure I email the principal just as well as I email the teacher. And all of us need to be on one accord when it comes down to my kid. I tell them what I teach my kid. And the funny thing is, a lot of teachers say now, I've heard teachers say, like, now you know what Johnny really doing in school. And it's like, no, I always know what Johnny did in
That's
school.
right.
Like, I know
Wow.
Johnny was a kicker, and I know if he was a biter. I know if Johnny was a bullier, and I know my kids, and I'm not going to
Mhm.
excuse this. However, I need you to understand that all parents are not the same. You also need to understand that all kids don't learn the same, and you also need to understand that when I come to you and tell you something, you need to hear my heart, and I hear yours. And if we work together, that's called a relationship, and we can all make this thing work.
Wait, I heard that the teachers and the principals even know your middle name. Is that true? They know
Oh,
your whole.
they know me, and listen, I buy them gifts as well. Listen, they Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, Father's Day, Christmas. I'm coming in there bearing gifts because I understand that it's hard work on everybody's part. You know, everybody is suffering, everybody's going through. I feel like they should buy me a gift too, but that's a whole nother story.
I got
Damon,
you, Miss Razor. I got you, Miss Razor.
But you know what, Mike? Let me say something before you get to
Go
Damon.
ahead, Philip Hines.
Just
Say
like
something, sir.
just like Mrs. R just said,
Mhm.
you know, we all have to work and we all have this camera. We have to work and we all have responsibilities, but I'm still saying to the parents, please understand, learn what your kids are doing. Take those phones away too, because they be slick with those phones. You might think they're in there doing their schoolwork, but then they're texting their friends and playing games on the phone.
Absolutely.
So it's just that we have to, you know, as far as parents, really get on our kids and make sure they're doing what they're supposed to do. Because, like we said, the teachers have a part, the parents have a part. If everybody do their part, you know, everything around go smoothly. But we have to still remember, everybody don't learn the same.
Yeah, this is true.
That's why I believe that kids with learning disabilities, I truly believe those are the ones that really need to be in the schools because they really need that one-on-one attention with the teachers. But that's just my opinion.
Well,
Yeah.
I think one of the things that e-learning can do, and if you notice, like if you ever taken any online college courses, one of the things that they do is they give you like these little tests or try to figure out how is it that you learn, because we know some learn more hands-on, some can learn easier by reading, and some are more auditory, where it's like, hey, I can listen to you all day and talk and can pick up, but everybody learns differently. I think if we can find some way to implement that, in the future, and e-learning to kind of figure out a little bit, just to get a better assessment of the individual children and to figure out how they learn, then I think that can actually help our educators better develop plans so that they can relay the lesson the best way possible for the students there. Damon, I'm gonna let you say a little something, then I'm gonna give John the last word, and then we're gonna shut this thing down.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
man, it's time to go, man. I know the conversation is good, but man, people got lives.
Okay, I mean, I'm just gonna tie up what everybody else said.
Go ahead and tie it together.
Education, I mean, teaching is not a one size fits all. So
That's
like you said, you got students who learn audio, kinetic, and or video, or you may have a student that can do all. That's like a combination of the three.
Mm-hmm.
So you have that going. Then so like I said, seeing as though they don't learn the same way, that we as teachers, we have to come up with strategies that will hit every area, whether it's audio, whether it's video, whether it's like more hands-on. I think students with special needs probably need to be more, like more in the building, so they can get that intense, that one-on-one, that intense a strategy for learning and that sort of thing. With me, I tell my kid, look, again, I know the subject matter that I teach. E-learning is not necessarily great for that, because I know math is where the struggle is. I tell kids, the struggle is right here with me. So if you know that math is not your thing, then you need to be, in-house with me. And so therefore I can be more hands-on, I can be more intense, being face-to-face rather than virtual.
Yeah.
I do have like I said, I do have a YouTube channel, Damon's Mail Shop, so you might want to click on, click like.
We'll check it out. We'll check it out, cuz I got you.
Okay. As far as e-learning is concerned, the students are more tech savvy. So again, it teaches the students to be more tech savvy and how to navigate in the, as far as like Google Classroom, we do Canvas down here in Florida, because we did Google Classroom like a couple of years ago. So we moved on to Canvas.
Okay.
Canvas learning and things of that nature. So as far as like the drawbacks of e-learning, like I said, the socialization skills are pretty much not there. Like I said, if you're an only child, or if you're a child with special needs, you need that socialization. I think elementary school kids need it. I think the upper elementary, middle school, they still need that, even though they transition over to high school and they going through what they going through in those middle school years. Even high schoolers need that, like that socialization skill, whatnot, because like that's what they just like when you see it, it's like, oh my God, there's nobody here but me. It's like you're pretty much there's nobody here but you. And so I think that part is missing. Like with some classes, like like the gym class. Oh yeah, you do need that go outside and play mentality, because you don't get that from e-learning. You don't get that from being virtual, running places in your house. Like whatever, take your behind outside with all that.
Right.
And so stuff like that. So I just think, but at the same time, we have to like the drawbacks is like, again, being social with each other. when we're so used to being social. We don't have that anymore.
Yeah. And I think that'll change in time. John, I'm gonna give you the last word, man. What's your hopes? What's the hopes for CPS and just for you as a principal and for for your educators? What's the hopes to come out of this situation in regards to e-learning and just education for our kids in general?
I think big picture, my hope is that this is a springboard moment right here. This is really a chance for us to really disrupt education and rebuild it in a way that works and serves everybody. Because we see that right now it doesn't. Think about things like grades. I don't mean like grades in terms of ABCD, but I mean like third grade, second grade, whatever else.
Right.
I think every single person on this call at some point in time talked about how kids learn in different ways. Why don't we have multi-age classrooms? With kids that perform in the same kind of a way, right? So that, hey, if you demonstrate that you have covered if you've mastered K-12 content by the time you're 16, why can't you graduate? We let athletes,
absolutely. Come on, man.
I feel them on
NBA,
that.
whatever else.
Yeah.
Right? So like, why do we have to stay sort of married to this same kind of space? So that's my hope, that this moment is a chance for us to really break it down and rebuild it in a way that works for us, especially Black and brown kids who are forced into being tested in ways that we know don't serve them, right?
Don't serve, man. Come on.
And the way that they are determined to be ready is by somebody else's standard. I love to see us rebuild it in a way that really allows us to showcase our talents and our intelligence that may not be on an ACT test, but instead allows us to really explore and to get out into the world when we're ready to do that.
Man, listen, that right there, that's a podcast for a whole nother subject right there, man. Because you know what, I'm gonna say this, and then I know we got to go, because I was talking to another friend of mine, and we were talking how, and I don't know if you guys remember this, but I went to Simeon back in the 90s, and Simeon used to have shop classes. And they were
talking about that. Remember, they took all the shop classes out of the schools.
There was a point in time when you can graduate high school certified in plumbing,
auto
carpentry, auto shop, and they took all that out of the schools. All of that out of the schools. And what's left is kind of what you said earlier, John. We have an archaic system that really, if you think about it, is built on the notion that you have to come into this facility to learn. But the way the world is now with the internet, you really don't. So I think this is I absolutely agree with you when you say that this is a springboard opportunity now for us to completely transform the educational system, and in a way that it'll not only benefit benefit the system, but especially benefit our kids, because there are some things that's wrong with it, but I believe that if everyone works in tandem with each other, with the parents and the educators and the facilitators, I believe that there are a lot of obstacles that we can overcome together with this e-learning and then whatever else comes up in the future. So listen, Sister Larita, I appreciate you, darling, and thank you for coming on. Yes, Damon, I appreciate you, man. Listen, get that plug that YouTube page one more time, man.
Damon's Math Shop.
Yes, sir. Damon's, listen, if y'all struggling in math and don't front, some of y'all is in y'all 40s and 50s and you still ain't figured it out. It's all right. Go ahead and check.
I might go check.
I might stop in there.
To be real with you, I might go check them out, man.
Go ahead and stop by Damon's Math Shop on YouTube. Mr. Bennett, man, listen.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate you, my friend, for coming on. I'm gonna have you back on, man, so we can go a little bit deeper into this thing.
Oh, that's a whole other discussion you brought up, Mike.
I promise you, it is
totally a whole nother discussion that needs to be talked about.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Listen, everybody that tuned in, I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. As I said earlier, make sure y'all hop over there on YouTube. Go ahead and like our YouTube page. If you don't follow us on Facebook, follow us and like us on our Facebook page at ManUP Real Talk. Oh, stop begging, Phil. I keep telling you, encourage, son. Encourage. You don't want to people.
I encourage you to please go like, subscribe our YouTube page. ManUP Real Talk. Was that better, Mr. Wiley?
That's better. I appreciate you, sir. Everybody in the chat, I love y'all. I appreciate
y'all
y'all.
so
We're
much.
about to get out of here. So on behalf of all of our guests and Mr. Hines and myself, this is the Man Up Real Talk podcast. And y'all know what it is. Until we talk again, y'all get 2 fingers to the side. Holla at your boys because we are officially out.